Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia, I'm coming to you from the UK. Today is Sunday, March 12th, 2023, and I'm so glad you're joining me today to talk about some yarn and knitting. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. You will know that I have been basically on break from this podcast for the last 2 years. I've made some efforts to come back every now and then, and it never really worked out. I'm not sure if this is going to be different, but I've decided to record. Although I have a cold, honestly, my son started nursery in January and we've all been sick all the time ever since. There has been no end to this. We've just all been going from one cold to the next, and it's just ridiculous. So if I'm going to wait until I have a proper voice to record, we might be waiting another few months. So I've decided to just record and give you guys a quick update on life, on knitting, on yarn. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I'm also recording with a different device today. I'm also recording in a different space, which we'll get into more later. There is a strong possibility I'm going to be coughing, and I'm sorry if I cannot edit out every single cough. You'll just have to deal with it because, let's face it, it's real life, and coughing and things just happen. So anyways, let's jump right in. I'm gonna do the yarny bits first and then live bits towards the end. What I am wearing today is my finished object for today. This is a Strange Brew sweater. If you've been watching this podcast for a while, you've heard me waffle on about this for probably years. Tin Can Knits brought out this Strange Brew sweater design a couple of years ago, and it's essentially a pattern to make your own pattern for a colorwork yoke or colorwork sweater. So it gives you all the numbers for different weights of yarn, and then you can either do a top down or bottom up yoke. You can turn it into a cardigan if you want to do a steek. They just give you all the numbers, and then you can just design your own yoke. So that's what I've done here. This is, I don't know, my 6th or 7th Strange Brew sweater. I've made some for my son. I've made some for me. I always make them top down. I just basically went into Excel, did an Excel spreadsheet, and plotted out the design that I wanted to make. Just made different colored squares, and then I knit it up. Basically, I had this idea a while ago when Holst had their Black Friday sale in 2022. I had this vision of a black or grey sweater with sort of bright pink colorwork yoke. So I ordered a cone of this grey, which is Oxford in the Holst Super Soft. And then I ordered a bunch of pink yarns and a yellow. The yellow that I ordered wasn't bright enough, but I had a more bright yellow in a Holst Super Soft in my stash. So I swapped that out, and yeah, here we are. This is my first time holding Holstgarn double, and I really like it. I mean, some people like Holstgarn, some people don't. It's certainly very affordable. And yeah, it's not my favorite yarn to knit with, but I really like the result. I like the affordability of it. And they have a million colors, so I think this is a great yarn if you want to, use proper wool. You don't want to break the bank. I ordered a cone of the black, which will give me 2 sweaters easy, and then just a couple of 50-gram balls. So all in all, maybe this sweater, all the yarn cost me maybe £30, and I still have enough black to make another sweater, so it's pretty cheap. Anyways, I held it double. I blocked it, washed and blocked it the day before yesterday, so this is actually my first time wearing it. And the way I block my Holstgarn is I use dishwashing liquid just to get all the spinning oil out, and I actually use hot water. So the only thing is, if you use hot water, don't agitate it. Like, you can just, I literally use hot water and dish soap. Carefully just dunk in the sweater and then just leave it. Don't agitate it, don't add cold water to it, just let it cool down and sit. And then I rinsed it, and then I always use my washing machine to spin the excess water out, and I blocked it, and it's turned out pretty fluffy and warm and much softer than it was when knitting with it. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. So that is my finished big object for this week. I also have a small finished object. As you'll probably guess, I'm not going to show you every single thing I've finished since I last podcasted, which was months ago. I just basically took out a couple of things that I've used recently. So my other finished object for this episode is this pair of socks, which has been crumpled up in a project bag because we moved and things got crumpled and things got everywhere, and things still are everywhere if I'm being honest. But this is one pair of socks that I've knitted on recently. I really like this yarn. This is the second time I'm using this yarn. This is Scrappy's Downtown. So Scrappy's is it a Dutch brand? It's a commercial brand, and I think they do lots of cottons, but they also do a sock yarn and a self-strapping sock yarn called Downtown. Let's see. Oh, you have the label here. Look at me being a professional podcaster. This is the label. Scrappy's Downtown in the colorway 412, which is Museum Square. And all I did is I knit some 7x1 ribbed socks. I've been experimenting with more ribbed socks because I find that a lot of my socks are getting too big for my feet. And I think they just stretch out. So I like to do either, I don't know, 6x2, 7x1, 3x1, any kind of ribbing really that is not too awful to knit and gives you a slightly more ribbed result. So yeah, that is my second finished object. I also have some works in progress. Should we stick with socks? I have another pair of socks on the needles. These ones are actually 2 at a time socks. And the reason for this is that the yarn that I'm using was a double-stranded sock blank. So if you don't know, sock blanks are basically knitted pieces of fabric that are then dyed, and then you unravel them as you knit, and they just give you sort of cool color progressions. And sometimes you get them double-stranded. So these 2 strands were basically knit together into a sock blank. So in order to knit them, you have to then take them apart again. And I find it really hard to knit from a double-stranded sock blank 2 at a time because everything just gets tangled. The yarn just doesn't really tend to come off very regularly and evenly, and it just ends up a mess. So what I did is I wound up these 2 balls of yarn, and then I decided since they're in 2 50-gram balls anyways, I might as well knit them 2 at a time. And of course I'm in the middle of a row, but these are the socks. And as you can tell, they kind of look ripped again. These are actually Blueberry Waffle Socks, which is a free pattern by Sandy Turner. And again, it gives you this sort of stretchier rib sort of effect, which makes them really nice to wear and also slightly less prone to stretching out. The yarn I'm using for this is a yarn that I was sent by a friend and dyer many years ago from Valkyrie Dyers, who is Lauren. She's still dying, and I'm so glad I'm finally using this yarn. I think it's really fun. I'm not sure if you can tell, but it's this gray with these like blue and green speckles in it. And yeah, I think it's a really fun sort of everyday colorway. Not super bright, but I think these will go very well with my more colorful socks. And I should have mentioned, for all of these I use 2.25mm US size 1 needles. These are higher sharps. The other ones I actually knit on some new to me needles. Let's see. Look at this mess. These are some new Knit Pro needles called the Mindful Collection. And I just ordered them to try them because I do quite like Knit Pro every now and then. I'm not going to attempt to detangle these. And I would say these have the sharp tips, sort of from like the Novas. But I really like the cable that it comes with. It's got a good joint. I really like these. These were relatively affordable. And I just ran out of sock needles recently, so I decided to give these a go. But usually I tend to just use higher sharps. And yeah, those are my socks. Next up, where should we keep going? Should we do these projects first? This one's gonna be interesting to explain. because this is not a Sophie scarf, not a Sophie shawl, but I think I accidentally am making something very similar. So I've seen petite knits and Sophie scarf and Sophie shawl pop up everywhere. And I've been kind of on the fence about it, if I'm being honest, because the small one doesn't make any sense to me. Like, personally, I just wouldn't wear it. I don't really see the point. And also the big one, like, there are these really long triangles, and I think they were just too skinny for me. Like, I didn't see the point. I also didn't see the point in paying like something like £7 for a triangle. But I think what I've done, I just wanted to knit something very simple. It was really cold until yesterday, really. We had these like strange like snow and March storms, and it's been really strange weather here. And I just wanted something cozy. So accidentally I've cast on something that looks quite a bit like the Sophie scarf. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm just doing a triangle with, it's a girdle stitch triangle with I-cord on either side. I'm increasing more than petite knit does to make it wider, and I'm not sure if I'm going to eventually stop increasing and just have it like a scarf with a skinny edge, or if I'm going to actually keep increasing and make it a proper triangle. I'm not quite sure yet. But yeah, this has just been sort of simple girdle stitch knitting. Yeah, very, very, very basic. And the yarn that I'm using for this is from Stash, as is all of what I'm knitting at the moment. This is the Regia Premium Alpaca Soft, which is lovely. I originally bought this for a sweater because I knit a sweater out of a similar yarn last year. But it turns out this yarn is lovely, but it was quite pilly and fuzzy on my sweater. So I've decided to make this sweater quantity into a scarf / shawl instead, something that I can just throw on in the morning, don't worry about it. Just a very functional piece, and I really like it because I'm not sure if you can tell, but it's got a bit of a halo going on, it's quite fluffy, and I think it'll be really nice and warm for winter and autumn. Alright, I took a quick tea break. I know, tea! What's up with me? I've become British. I now drink tea. I don't enjoy tea, to be honest. I just drink tea because I have to drink something and I can't drink coffee all day long. So every now and then I will drink tea. But it still sort of tastes like water to me, if I'm being honest. I'm never going to be a proper tea person. It's just not going to happen. Anyways, I have 2 more works in progress. I mean, I have more. I have some blanket works in progress, but I have 2 sort of normal size works in progress. And you're going to laugh because, yes, I'm making another half and half triangles wrap by Pearl Soho. And the sun is coming in, so I hope this works out. Yeah, this is my 4th half and half triangles wrap, but I've been using them a lot. If you don't know, it's a free pattern by Pearl Soho. Essentially, it's a massive square made out of 2 differently colored triangle shapes. It's a very plain knit. You do some short rows to shape the whole thing, and yeah, I'm making yet another one. This is the first one I'm doing in the original yarn. This is Pearl Soho Linen Quill. Where's the camera? Here it is. So maybe you can tell. It's a really funky mix of fibers. It has some linen sticking out. It's 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and 15% linen. Originally I was going to pair this with a really, really bright pink. I think it was called Flamingo Pink. I think because I already have 2 that have pink now, I may go with this more neutral combination. I mean, I haven't 100% decided, but I think this may be more wearable, and again, these have been great for every day, so maybe I need one for every day that doesn't scream neon pink. But I mean, I can still change my mind. This is Turmeric Yellow. This is Pale Mushroom. Excuse me. And yeah, I only have 2 skeins of each color. I've already used up the first skein, so I hope it's going to be enough, but I think we should be okay. I'm using 3.5mm needles. Again, I've been testing out needles. These are the Knit Pro Blush needles, which are interchangeable, but I only ordered myself 1 pair and 1 cable to sort of see if I like them, and I really do. So maybe I have a birthday in May. Who knows? Maybe I'll get the set. Who knows? As I said, I think you should have 3 skeins for the large size of the shawl, but my gauge tends to be quite big. So what I've done is I've cast on somewhere between the small and the large size. I've read in my Ravelry how much stitches I cast on. I can't remember. And I think it should still give me a large size, and hopefully I won't run out of yarn. If I do, I will fudge it. But I think and I hope I should be okay. So yes, yet another half and half wrap. And this is my new favorite bag, by the way. I don't really buy bags, but I had a bag by this maker, by Willow Bay Yarn. Sorry, cough break. I had another bag by this maker who is a Willow Bay handmade. Again, it was a corduroy bag like this in the same shape, and I'm an idiot. So what I did the other day is I spilled a full cup of coffee all over our wall and all over my knitting project that was sort of lying on the floor, and it was a light pink corduroy bag. It was completely covered in coffee. So what I did is I hand washed the bag, and then I put it on the radiator to dry, and it didn't burn. It didn't go up in flames, but it basically had brown sort of melted patches all over it, and I was heartbroken. I was so sad. That was my favorite bag. It was clearly my own fault because you're not supposed to dry stuff on a radiator. I just sort of underestimated how hot the radiator would get. So I ruined the bag, and I got a new one. I had to get a new one because I love these bags. They're really handy. I'm not sponsored. I'm not sponsored by anyone or anything I mention here. Just saying. And she has new fabrics, so she showed me her new fabrics, and I chose this one. I paid for this myself, and I'm over the moon with it. So yeah, little bag mentioned on the side here. And last of all, I am obsessed. I mean, you're all gonna laugh at me. I'm such a cliche. I'm really sorry, you guys. I'm knitting petite knit sweaters. I'm knitting half and half wraps. If I now, I'm knitting like a fake Sophie scarf, which is ridiculous. And if I now pull out a lentil sweater, what are you gonna say? I'm the walking, talking, podcasting cliche, and I'm sorry about it. But here we are. I jumped on the lentil train. So if you've been on Instagram, you've probably seen the hype lately. I think there have been a lot of podcasters knitting lentil sweaters, which are is a sweater by Jonna Hietala. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Which was originally in a Line magazine. I've never bought a Line magazine in my life. I just bought the pattern. It's basically yet another top-down raglan with mohair, but what's really fun about it is it's knit on a really loose gauge, so it makes for a very quick sweater. I think it's quite versatile. Like, I've seen loads of striped lentils, and like people who have been making cool things out of this very simple pattern. I think it's a 15 stitch gauge, which again I haven't really seen. And it's really quick because you use massive needles, you don't need very much yarn. So I've decided to make myself like a uniform of lentil sweaters. I want to make like 3 or 4 or 5 of these, and I think they'll be really good for spring. You can just throw them on. They won't be super warm because they're on a loose gauge. They're sort of oversized. They'll be good for getting stash out of my yarn cabinets because I have way too much yarn, and I've been seriously trying and partly succeeding in stashing down and destashing and using what I have. So here we are. I cast this on less than 48 hours ago. I think it took me one evening to split for the sleeves. Like I said, it's going really fast and I love it. Honestly, I had all my yarn packed in boxes because I obviously knew that they were moving. And all I wanted to do was cast on a bright pink sweater. And yeah, here we are. It's not showing out as bright as it is in real life. It is proper bright. The yarn that I'm using is this Magenta Knit Picks palette, which is colorway 5083 Cosmopolitan. And I'm using this mohair, which is the most affordable mohair I've found so far, except for Drops mohair, and I don't like Drops, and I definitely don't like the mohair, and I think it's scratchy. Drops mohair is probably the only mohair I've ever seen that I cannot take. But this is the second best thing. This is Nori Yarns, who are on Etsy. Again, not sponsored, also not focusing. It's Nory Yarns. They're in the UK, and I will say, if you order from them online, the color representation isn't the best. So it's a bit of a gamble, but yeah, who would think that these two work together? They look really odd together, but then they look great, and I love it. I'm so happy with this. Again, I've been planning so many more of these sweaters in my mind. I have so much yarn that I could use. And yeah, I'm planning to just like bang out these Lento sweaters because I think they're really fun. They'll be really simple to wear. And again, with the mohair, it just adds a little bit of interest, a little bit of fanciness into my life, which is not very fancy. I mean, hands down, I'm like a jeans and t-shirt girl, and I just wear whatever sweater is on top. But this one will be a nice one to be on top. So yeah, for this one I used 3.75 millimeters for the ribbing, and I think you're supposed to use 6 millimeters for the body. I used 5 because that's the largest interchangeable size that I had in my Chagu set, and also because my gauge is quite loose, and it turns out I got gauge perfectly with that. So there we go. Those are all my works in progress that I brought to show you today. So if you only want to see that, then thanks for checking out this podcast. I hope you will come back. If I come back, I think I will. And if you do want to stick around, yeah, we're just going to do some chat. Actually, I might get myself some knitting. Alright, so what's been happening? Essentially, as I already mentioned, we've just been crazy busy. I'm not sure how much of this I even mentioned. I'm gonna go back a few steps here. Bear with me. Let's start from the beginning. You probably will know and can tell from my accent that I'm German. And I started this podcast back in Germany many moons ago. And then about 2.5 years ago, when I was pregnant, we decided to move to the UK. I was supposed to have my baby here, which then didn't happen because this thing called the pandemic struck. I mean, who knew? So anyways, we moved here right after my baby boy was born. He was teeny tiny, and we moved here. We moved into a rental house, and my husband, he'd been working his new job before remotely and then started working here. And then within like the last year or so, we were like, what are we going to do next? We never really planned too far in advance. We sort of knew we were going to go for a couple of years and see what happens. And basically, my husband changed jobs. So we were like, are we going to stay in the UK? Are we going to go back to Germany? Are we going to have to go back to Germany? No idea. Essentially, luckily for me, I was always pushing to stay here. It all worked out. My husband changed jobs, has a great job here again now. He's super happy. So then last autumn, we decided to start looking at houses. We were basically viewing houses every weekend, which was really stressful. It's the sort of thing that, I mean, let me know if you've bought a house. Did you enjoy the process? Did you enjoy the viewings? I thought I would enjoy it, but I really didn't. But part of that had to do with the fact that we do have a toddler. So honestly, every time we saw a house, we either had to find childcare and leave him with friends and organize that, or we took him twice, which was a nightmare, because he's the sort of kid who just like runs around and like tears the place apart. He's really good. He's not too bad. He's not like a horrible child. Not that I believe that they are horrible children anyways. He's okay, but he's not the sort of kid that you can take and then take your time looking at a house. Like basically I was just running after him and like trying to make sure we're making good impression rather than looking at houses. So it was all becoming really stressful, and we weren't really finding the places that we wanted, and the prices weren't right, and it was all kind of getting on our nerves because obviously we were doing this every weekend. So then we decided to take a break over Christmas. We saw family. We just took a few weeks off. And then actually while still in Germany, I saw this ad for this one house, and I was like, yeah, that's it. Like, this is the house I want. And we badgered the poor people to give us a viewing because we kind of had a feeling it was going to go quickly. And on, I think, the 7th of January, we viewed the house. Put an offer in basically the same weekend and had our offer accepted. So if you don't know, if you buy a house in the UK, it goes through like this whole process of you have a solicitor, the sellers have a solicitor, and you basically try to get to exchange and then completion as fast as possible, but usually it takes like 3, 4, 5 months, depending on if there's a chain, if there's other people involved, if you have to get a mortgage, all of that stuff. It's really annoying. That's all I can tell you. So we had our offer accepted in January and thought, oh well, we'll maybe move, maybe March if we're lucky. And then like all these things just like took their course and did their thing, and all of a sudden in the beginning of February they were like, yes, okay, we're ready to exchange. And we're like really, really surprised. Like, we hadn't organized anything. We hadn't cancelled our rental because obviously we didn't want to risk being homeless if we cancel our rental and a house falls through. We hadn't done anything, and then basically had to get ready to move within 3 weeks because the the sellers were not budging on the completion date. So within 3 weeks we organized everything to move. To be fair, we only moved like up the road, maybe like a 10-minute drive from where we used to live, but still we have a 2-year-old. So we had, within 3 weeks, we had to organize the entire move, or sort out our old house, like a million little things that came with it. So what did we do? We got sick. We all got really sick. Like, I was out with, I don't know if it was a flu or a bad cold, for a good 2.5 weeks. We were all miserable and nothing got done. And yeah, it just kind of kept going like that. The week before we moved, my son managed to get himself from the GP to a local A&E, accident and emergency, ER if you're in the US, to Cambridge A&E. Like, we got to ride an ambulance, and it was all very exciting to him, who was feeling great at the time. It was really stressful for me, especially having to then get back from Cambridge, like 2 a.m. in the morning, with a toddler and no car. Fun times. So it was all really, really, really stressful, that's all I'm trying to say. But we made it. Luckily, everyone was healthy, and my toddler is fine. And we've moved in the following weekend. Again, it was quite interesting. We had one of the movers show up for packing completely drunk, and by the time I came back after dropping off the toddler with friends, I was like ready to tell him to leave, and it turned out he had punched out his colleague, and like all this madness. Like, it was complete madness. But the actual move went fine. Of course, the day after the move, toddler got sick, and he was quite sick, and then he got me sick, and I was quite sick. So again, we spent like a whole week, like I was just in bed with fever, but then we had to deal with a washing machine arriving and a dryer arriving, but the dryer was broken, so they had to take it out again, and it's just been complete madness. But the good thing is, we have, I think, moved past most of the madness. So we've been in for 2 weeks now. It feels so nice to have our own home. Like, this is ours, and we can do our own thing with it. Yeah, it feels crazy that we've settled here. Like, this has obviously been a major step in deciding to stay in the UK, and for my son to go to school here, and like all these things that come with buying a house. But it feels quite good. I think partly we still haven't really fully realized what's going on, but it feels like the right step. We are definitely getting there. If you're interested, I've posted some moving content and stuff into a highlight on Instagram, so you can check that out if you're interested. But yeah, now we are getting back to normality. I'm recording up here in my Yoni attic. Basically, we have a really nice loft room, which has become my yarn room, and it will eventually become my home office. I think it's quite good for podcasting. It's got nice lighting. I've got all my yarn here. It's all, well, 99% is now in shelves, but I need to sort through it. I wanted to get rid of all the boxes, so everything now is in a shelf, and I can access everything relatively well, but it is a long way from being organized, so I need to do that. I've already done a fair bit of destashing and stuff before we moved though, and I have another whole box of yarn that needs to go. So we are getting there. I've also donated some yarn, and I feel like finally we're all reasonably healthy. I have a space to craft, I have a space to breathe, I have a space to like play with all my yarns, and I'm really, really, really excited about that. Sorry, my storage ran out. Anyways, all of that to say, we have now moved. We now basically, we were living in the UK before. We're definitely living in the UK now. I feel really, really lucky to have been able to do this. I didn't really understand why everyone said, oh, like buying a house is possibly maybe the second most stressful thing you'll do in your life after having kids. Because basically for us, it only really got stressful once we moved in. But I get it now. I understand. I have learned my lesson there. But yeah, it feels really good. It's obviously a big change. My son was struggling a lot with moving. It was really sad and heartbreaking in the beginning. He is getting better now, so I think eventually he will get used to this and he'll become calmer again and know his way around. Luckily we've moved closer to his best friends. He can also stay in the same nursery because we haven't moved too far. So yeah, I'm hoping for us to just be able to settle for a bit. He's still having a bit of trouble with nursery as well. He's only going 2 mornings a week anyways. So basically our goal for the next few months is to just arrive, just get everything in like a working order. We need to do loads of jobs on the house. Also, my goal is to settle him into nursery so he can then go for more hours starting from summer. And yeah, it would just be nice to have a bit of routine, just a bit of normal life without constantly dying from another nursery bug, without having to deal with boxes and movers and plumbers and everything that's going on. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. We've had the weirdest weather. We've basically had snow for 4 days in the last week. It's been horrible. I hate the snow. I hate snow in March. It's ridiculous. I just want nice weather. I want to sit in my garden. I want to do all the gardening projects. And yeah, I'm hoping that's just around the corner. We had a very nice morning this morning, actually. It was sort of sunny, and I hadn't even realized how much I've just missed the sun. Yeah, so basically that's the plan now. And who knows, maybe I can get back into podcasting. I would really like to. We'll sort of see how this goes today as well, because obviously I've changed camera settings. This is less fancy, but easier for me to do. And my thinking is, it's probably better if I do something that's easy and I can actually do it, rather than have like all this technical chaos that then prevents me from doing it at all. And I know a lot of the podcasts at the moment, they're very fancy. They're very styled and perfect, and also fairly full of ads. But I feel like the quality of podcasts has gone up massively, which I appreciate. But sometimes I also just miss the good old days, like 5 years ago, when it was just normal people sitting in front of their yarn and stuff and just talk about knitting. So let's see if maybe this can be my way back into that. If you have stuck it out and listened to my croaky, cold voice until now, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys so much. Honestly, you guys just liking a photo I posted on Instagram, just sort of mentioning the idea of podcasting. The amounts of hearts I got sent for that just honestly made me even consider it. So thank you guys. Hopefully see you soon. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all safe. I hope you're all healthy. Ideally enjoying some knitting or crochet or whatever your craft of choice is. and I will see you very soon. Take care. Bye bye.